Hi, this is John Blyler, editor for IoT Embedded Systems, and today I'm at the IoT Devcon in Santa Clara 2017. Today I have the pleasure of talking to Mike Mackey, who's the CTO of CENTRI Technology. Mike, thanks for taking the time.
You're welcome.
Now, you had a presentation earlier.
Yeah, so basically the talk was focused on IoT developers, so developers who are developing IoT things, and what are the things they should think about when implementing security. Really, in order to generate a secure IoT device, you need to have a secure hardware and you need to have secure software. So for instance, on the hardware side, some things to consider are you want all cryptography uses random numbers, and hardware-based random numbers are much more effective than software-based ones. In fact, software-based ones are typically pseudo-random numbers, not truly random numbers. Also on the hardware side, you want a TPM, which is essentially a trust store where you can safely store key material, for instance, and things like that without having it in the software stack. It actually embeds it in the hardware. Another thing is identity. You want some hardware-based identity for your device, and so PUFF technologies, and there's several vendors at this show that actually offer PUFF technologies, are hardware, essentially chips that allow you to identify that piece of hardware that chip is in uniquely from any other device. And because it's hardware, it's hard to spoof or duplicate or fake.
So on the hardware side, usually when you think, oh, okay, so there's going to be extra chips, and so that means it's going to take more power and it'll be slower. Is that necessarily true for some of the things you talked about?
Not necessarily, because a lot of these chips are they're static until you call them to get their information, like their identity information or the trust store. You're sticking something in there and extracting it from there. Otherwise, they don't really do anything. The ones that do, and there are some hardware chips that do perform functions themselves, a lot of those these days, though, have their own mini microprocessors or processors in them so that they're able to function separately from the main processor on the main board. Yeah, so then on the software side, software considerations, you've got the access to the device. So you have this physical device. Maybe you as the developer need to get to it from time to time to do updates, whether that's from cloud or what have you. And so you may have tools like SSH installed, and what are you using for your authentication? In fact, we've seen lots of attacks in the past 6 months or so where SSH was installed on devices, but the developers left the default usernames and passwords. Those are easy for hackers to determine, and thus they can get onto your device. And once they're on your device, then there's lots of things they can do. So device access, which is really a software side. And then if your device is communicating, which by default most Internet of Things devices are, you want to secure that communication. So between your device and anything it may be communicating to, you want to make sure that communication is secure. And then lastly, on the software side is storage. If you're storing information on the device, which a lot of IoT developers think, oh, my device is generating data and sending it to a cloud, so the storage is really the cloud's problem. But what about config data? If you're using Wi-Fi, you probably have a config file on your device that has your SSID and your Wi-Fi password. Is that sitting there in the clear on your device, or have you secured that? So,
okay. Do you have you've been doing this for a while. Do you have an interesting, case study or application you can share?
Yeah, we've got both. Like for instance, here at this conference and at all the conferences go to, we've got demos. The one we have here happens to be a temperature pressure sensor. So think of like a weather station, and the weather station collects data every 2 seconds and sends it to the cloud. We basically allow that weather station to compress and encrypt the data. And a lot of folks might think, well, why a weather station? Why do I need to bother securing that? Well, if you think about a weather station in the home, like those things that you put outside your home, and you've got the screen maybe in your kitchen that tells you what the temperature is outside, those devices connect to your home Wi-Fi. So you may think, gosh, a weather station at my home isn't that important. But if an attacker finds that you have that weather station and they can get onto the weather station, then they just follow the trail back to your Wi-Fi router. And then from there, they can get to all the other things in your home, including your laptops and whatever other devices you connect to Wi-Fi. Yeah. So we've got the temperature pressure sensor. There's all kinds of command and control type of things, like drones, where maybe the device isn't collecting data, but it's being controlled from another device. And so we can secure the data both ways, no matter what way the direction's heading. Then you've got your home gateways. In fact, our largest customer implements home gateways, and we're on that home gateway. What else? Geez, it's just that's the funny thing about the Internet of Things. It's everything. In fact, I have 2 daughters. I challenge them for, what today is a thing that you can name that isn't connected? And my oldest daughter's first response was, well, a shirt. And so we went and we pulled up a website for Nike and then Adidas and Under Armour, and they now have connected shirts that measure your body temperature and your sweat and all that kind of stuff. Everything these days is connected, and CENTRI can go into any of those things.
What does CENTRI bring to this solution? I mean, there's companies that have hardware and software solutions and middleware and everything in between.
Yeah, so CENTRI really, I guess, brings two key components. So from a product perspective, we're a software security company and really data security. So we provide a suite of tools that developers of Internet Things can use in their things to protect the data, whether it's at rest on those things or in transport between that thing and another thing or the cloud. On top of that then, because really a lot of IoT developers, they're specialists in their thing. So like if they're a refrigerator manufacturer, they know refrigerators and all the things that go into a refrigerator, but they're not necessarily security developers. And so we'll sit down with our customers and stuff and help them develop both secure hardware. Even though we ourselves don't provide security, we have partners and stuff that do provide those TPMs and those PUFFs and all those hardware elements. And so we can recommend, based on whatever the thing is and their situation, good hardware partners. And then we'll also then obviously help them with all of the software security elements.